We live tonight. We live tonight. How you guys doing? This Mike with the Soberheadz podcast, one day at a time. Tonight I got a very special guest tonight. Young lady Bella. How you doing, Bella?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Um, Bella's joined us tonight. Our first female guest to share her experience, strength, and hope. And we I know we should be in for a treat. I never heard her full story, so I'm anxious to hear her story too. And then we'll ask Bella a couple questions at the end, and we'll go from there. All right, so Bella, let's get at it.
All right. Hi guys, I'm Bella. I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I'm both. My
Okay.
sobriety date is September 27th, 2019. So I got sober about 4 years ago. I have a sponsor. She has 34 years. And then she has other sponsees as well as me. Um, yeah. So alcoholism, addiction, it runs rampant in my family, all throughout my family. I have people in my family who've died from the disease. I have another person in my family who got sober, and they have like 34 years sober. And then, I have some people in my family who are active. So, but I get it on both sides. I get it from my mom and my dad's side. And growing up as a kid, I associated alcohol with a good time.
Hmm.
And that's because my family, I lived with my mom, she would have like big parties, and I would see her friends, drinking, and I would associate, oh, well, they drink to have fun. Oh, they drink to socialize. And growing up as a kid, I was picked on a lot. I was very much an outsider. I
Hmm.
grew up in a small town in South Jersey. It was literally 1 square mile, so it was extremely small.
Hmm.
Everybody knew each other. We called it a BBB town, born there, bred there, buried there.
Hmm.
So everybody knew each other. I was disliked. I experienced racism a lot when I was younger, called racial slurs. I had a single mom, so everybody else didn't. So I experienced not fitting in, not being liked because of a certain thing at a young age. Because I had curly hair, everybody else had straight. Because I had a gap in my teeth, other kids didn't. Because I had a single mom, whatever it was, kids just tended not to like me.
Hmm.
So I was very isolated as a kid. I had a few friends, but they were in like 8th grade. And the first thing I became addicted to was harming myself. I was a cutter
Hmm.
in the beginning
Hmm.
because for me, the release of physical pain would distract me from my mental pain.
Hmm.
So I thought, okay, this works. And then I tried cigarettes, and I'm now in the process of trying to quit nicotine after
Hmm.
11
Hmm.
years. So
Hmm.
it's a tough one. It's the hardest one to quit. But then I tried cigarettes and I liked that, but it's not really feasible for an 11-year-old to go get a pack of Marlboro Lights. It's just not really happening. So I tried different things like cutting and cigarettes, and eventually it got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore and I attempted suicide. And I was 11 when I
Hmm.
attempted. Now, people might be wondering, what does it have to do with, sobriety? Well, this is how I got introduced to drugs and alcohol, was being a young kid in a psychiatric facility.
Hmm.
All the older kids said, "Oh, I drink and I feel better. Oh, I smoke weed, I feel better." One girl was like, "Oh, I do cocaine, I feel better." So that's where I learned, oh, doing drugs and drinking is going to make me feel better.
Hmm.
Little did I know that's not what was going to happen. So we ended up moving out of that town, because my mom, after I attempted suicide, was like, heck no, like, this is too much. So I went from like small Whiteville, South Jersey, to Bloomfield, New Jersey, in Essex County, which is
I know
like,
what that's that.
yeah, it's like a culture shock. I was like, wow, like, there are different types of people here. Like, there were girls who had braids, there were girls who had hair just like me, there were Asian kids, there were Latin kids, there were black kids. There was people of all different diversities there. But when you don't grow up around that, it's like, like, it was very different for me. My mom was always trying to have me like express myself and do different things, but to be a kid in a grade where there's now people of all different like cultures and ethnicities was a little bit shocking to me.
Hmm.
And I didn't fit in with the Hispanic kids because I don't speak Spanish, and I still don't. I'm
Mm-hmm.
half Puerto Rican, but we don't really do that. And I didn't fit in, and I didn't fit in with the white kids because they lived on the north side of the town. They lived on the bougie side of the town. So I fit in with kids who got in trouble
Mm.
because I wanted the attention to be on me. And I decided when I moved up there, I'm not going to be the girl who's picked on anymore. I'm gonna be that person. And there's a point in Bill's story where he says, "And I had arrived." I felt like
Mm-hmm.
that, and I started getting in fights and getting involved with all different types of kids. And where we lived in the town, my mom worked a lot. She worked like 4 to 11 p.m. shifts just so we could like have food on the table and like she could pay rent. So that happening, my house was open frequently.
Mm.
So I had kids in high school coming to my apartment, and I thought
Mm.
it was because of me. No, it was because I had a free apartment, and we would drink and we would smoke. And I was like, wow, this is great. Like, I'm fitting in. Like, people like me. I changed my whole personality.
Mm.
I was a chameleon. I could fit in with really any way they thought they spoke. If they dead ass talked like this, I was talking like that. I don't speak like that.
Mm.
Or if they talked like word, like any particular group, I could like flip my lingo and the way I sounded just to like fit in with people.
Mm.
And it started, I was 11, 12. It started with drinking and smoking weed. We would
Mm.
take my mom's whatever she had and fill it with water if it was vodka, or put it back in the freezer. Or, they would have friends who were in college if they were in high school or an older sibling, so they would get alcohol for us. So it started social. It started as a party house. And by the time I hit eighth grade, it was no longer like social.
Mm.
Um, so I was going on 12 because I was summer birthday into seventh grade, and that's when I started. I was drinking and I was smoking weed fairly regularly, but not as regular as I started in eighth grade. My progression was very, very quick.
Mm.
Um, Eighth grade, the first time I overdosed was in eighth grade,
Mm.
and that didn't scare me though. Like,
Mm.
I was with some girl and we were drinking all day from 8 in the morning till whatever time at night. And I told her I feel sick, and she gave me oxy, and I ended up overdosing in her apartment.
Mm.
And I woke up, and I always tell this story because I feel like it's important to paint the picture of like the type of people I was surrounding myself with. So I came to, I had vomit all over me. Apparently, she had taken a video that she showed me the next day of me like seizing out. And she was like, if you die tonight, I'm dragging your body across the street and making it look like a car accident.
Mm.
And this girl was like 16. And I was like, whoa. And I woke up the next morning and I went home or whatever, but that was like my first big weekend of getting loaded, and I wanted to do it all the time.
Mm.
Now I want to be at that level all the time.
Mm.
And before all that, like, I was an honor roll student. Um, I got a letter of academic achievement from Barack Obama in eighth grade. Like,
Mm.
I was a top tier student. But after I discovered how doing more and more could make me feel, I didn't care. I was a
Mm.
dancer. I went to dance camp. I went to Sharon Miller Dance Academy. I was a wrestler. I wrestled on the team with all guys. I wanted to play volleyball. But at that point, I felt like that's when the small line of hard drinker and alcoholic
Mm.
got right
Mm.
crossed.
Mm.
And
Mm.
come high school, I did okay my freshman year, but over the summer going into my sophomore year, I was still drinking and smoking weed, and then Xanax came into play and cocaine because I always hung out with older kids. Someone had a brother, so whatever. I didn't want to hang out with people my age because they don't get me. Because
Mm.
I'm mature, they don't get me. And looking back, like, I had no business at 14 years old hanging out with grown men, and
Mm.
grown women. I had no business. But by the time I was going into my sophomore year, so I was still 14. I was turning 15, is when I got introduced to heroin, and
Mm.
now I'm doing heroin, cocaine, alcohol, you name it. I'm doing it as much as I can. And my friends have no idea. Like, my friends that I have that I'm really close with, I had two friends that I had gotten really close with over my freshman year. And I remember Thanksgiving, or my sophomore year, we all went to IHOP in the morning. And they tried to intervention me. They were like, we don't know what you're doing. We don't know who you're doing it with. But you need to stop. Like, we're scared you're going to get hurt or something's going to happen to you. And I freaked out at the table. And I
Mm.
slammed my drink there. How dare you? And we didn't talk for almost 2 years. Sorry, I'm getting over this
You
cough.
good? You good?
But so it progressed and it got worse. And I was doing all different types of stuff. I was going to Newark at 3 o'clock in the morning as a
Mm.
15-year-old going to cop. And
Mm.
my mom didn't realize all this was happening.
Mm.
My mom just thought I smoked pot. And my grades went like down the toilet. I was in like a really, I was in my freshman year. They wanted to advance me into an honors English class, and come my sophomore year, but they were glad that they didn't. I was getting high every day, drinking as much as possible. It got to a point where I would go to school under the influence. I would bring substances to school with me to function, and I couldn't not have it. So,
Mm.
going into February 2017, because that was my sophomore year, I had a boyfriend, like, at the time, and he had no idea this was going on either. And I had this boyfriend, and one day he was outside my house in like late January, and I remember he came to bring me Dunkin' Donuts. Real sweet kid, like real innocent kid too. I bring him up frequently too when I share my story because there's like a happy part at the end. But and he's banging on my door. Kid had been there for like 2.5 hours, and I had no idea because I was getting loaded with somebody else. So
Mm.
I had no concept of time of what time it was. I got home. He's like, "Where were you?" I knew I was caught in the lie, but in my mind, he was not catching me in the lie.
I know you said.
So I was like, I was at school. He was like, Bella, it's 5 o'clock. You get out at 1:45 on Wednesday. I was like, the library. And like I couldn't even walk. He had to like help me get in my apartment and all different types of stuff and ended up calling my mom
Mm.
and texting her when he left my house in the driveway saying like Bella's like she's high or drunk or something. Like you need to come home right now. You need to drug test her, like she's gonna die.
Mm.
And my mom drug tested me. And if he hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have gone to my first facility for a while
Mm.
if I would have made it. So my mom drug tested me, and I went into a psychiatric facility because I didn't want to get in trouble. So I said I would have hurt myself. She said okay. And they took me to a facility, took me to carrier clinic,
Mm.
and then in carrier clinic I detoxed for a little bit, and they said you're going somewhere else after here, and I was like home, and they were like no, you're going to a place 2 hours from here. And I was like where? And they were like by plane, and I was like, and they shipped me off to Illinois.
Mm.
And at the time, I went to treatment. I found out about 12-step fellowships, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Whatever. I was 15, so I started going to NA before I went to AA. And no hate to NA, but I went to NA and I didn't take it seriously. I
Mm.
said, even though they read like alcohol is a drug in one of their they have like a bunch of stuff. In my mind, I heard alcohol is a drug for you, but that doesn't mean it's a drug for me. So you have a problem with alcohol. I do not. So I kept drinking.
Mm.
And I was drinking, and then my alcoholism started to show. And I drank for no, maybe 3 months. Because I got out of there in April, right before 420. And by, I want to say, late July, August, right before my 16th birthday, I was doing drugs again
Mm.
and drinking. So I spiraled pretty quick. And then from there, in November, I went to a party in North Jersey, and some big crazy stuff happened, and I had to move away. Like I was like,
Mm.
the geographical cure. This is what's gonna help me now.
Mm.
So I moved in with my grandmother. I still live with her. I moved in with her, and I was like, dude, like I'm gonna get sober because she's not gonna let this happen to me. So I went from North Jersey back to South. And I moved in with her, and within 2 weeks, I had some random dude in the basement of our apartment drinking with me.
Mm.
It was so fast. And then that was December 2017. From December to August, I was a wreck. So she put up with me my last two active years. I didn't get sober till 2019. So by then, now I live by Camden. So now I'm going to Camden and Kensington to get drugs and
Mm.
alcohol. I'm going on dating apps to meet people, which I was doing in North Jersey anyway. I would like tell guys I'm not really 18, I'm 16 or whatever, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's fine." Which I'm like, "Oh, I was a child." Like, we would get loaded, or we would go party, or we would do whatever. So now I'm traveling all over to
Mm.
get loaded. When I started my junior year in March, because I started it late. When I started my junior year in March, I started dating the school like pot dealer for a while.
Mhm.
He was like the best pot dealer in school, so I was like, all right, this works. We go to prom together. We look happy. So it was just that vicious cycle. And then come August 2018, right after my 17th birthday, mind you, my 17th birthday, I went to a concert. And like one thing about me is I love concerts, especially metal concerts. I love them. I got kicked out of the show because I was too intoxicated. Because I lied and I said it was my 18th birthday and it wasn't.
Mm.
So people were buying me shots. I was like, nobody
Mhm.
cares if you're 17. They care if you're 18. So people were buying me shots and people were smoking with me, and I got too intoxicated and I tried to fight a security guard. And I spit on a security guard because they wanted me to leave, and I got mad and I thought I was big and bold. And then they carried me out of the venue and threw me on my ass on the street.
Mm.
So that's how my alcoholism works. When I drink and when I drug, I turn into a completely different person, and I think that I'm like a 6'4" man, when
Mhm.
really I'm like a 4'11" female. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
I think I'm all that in a bag of chips, but I'm really not. I mean I am in a humble way, but I'm not in the other way. But yeah, so August 2018, right after my 17th birthday, I snuck out, and I snuck out frequently. I snuck out and I went to a party, and I ended up overdosing at the party.
Mm.
And my grandma thought I was asleep in my bed. And I came home and I came upstairs. And I was like, I need to go to rehab. Like, I'm doing heroin again. Like, I need to go. She was like, okay. 2 days later, she drives me to Florida. And I'm detoxing going to Florida. I wiggled my way out of that facility because it wasn't for me. They threatened all this stuff towards me, which they did. And she had someone come pick me up 2 weeks in. And I was like, I'm going to stay sober. And then that was in August. By November, now I have a new boyfriend. He's 23. I'm 17, but we're in love. I love him. We're in love because he can buy me alcohol. So I love
Mm.
him. And even though he's a piece of shit, I love him. So he became my higher power, my God. And I was going to AA all like in and out this whole period.
Mhm.
And I would go to meetings drunk and I would go to meetings high, and they would say, keep coming, Bella. So they never like kicked me out or like shunned me. And
Mhm.
I tried to get him to go to meetings with me. But come November 6th, that was the last physical day I was in school. And I only know that because I have a picture of myself from that day. And I got loaded before I went to school. I don't remember anything. I know I had a math test. I couldn't tell you anything else. And then they didn't drug test me either. I know that. And then I went to treatment. This time I went to Minnesota. Shout out Hazelden. This time I went to Minnesota. It was a great facility, but I wasn't ready to get sober. So no matter where you go, you take
Leave
you
that.
with you.
Yep. Yep.
So I went to Minnesota. I was there for a month. Great place, therapy dog, good food, whole shebang. And I decided I want to get homeschooled because now it's the people at school. It's not me. There's drugs there. It's not me. Um, Within 59 days, I was sober 59 days. I relapsed
Mm.
because I wanted to drink and I wanted to get high. And I said, I'm too young to get sober.
Mm.
I'm 17. Why do I need to do this? Yum. So then me and my boyfriend, we fight, we drink, and I told him I wanted to drink, and he was like, thank God, because I hate not drinking.
Mm.
So he had his own stuff. He wanted to drink too. So then, come April 2019, got out of there in December. Come April, I'm back in Minnesota. This time on a scholarship because I called my counselor and messed up. And I was like, I need help, like blah blah blah. And he was like, okay, I'll scholarship you. I'll talk to your grandmother. So they scholarship me to this place. 15 days after I get out of Hazelden, my counselor convinces me to break up with the boyfriend. He's like, you always have a partner, like that's a problem. You need to focus on yourself. So I'm like, okay, no problem. I break up with him on the phone. And then 15 days after I got out of Hazelden, I tried going to a sober living when I got out. And I said I wanted to kill myself. And then they had audio cameras. So they heard me, called an ambulance, didn't come talk to me first, called an ambulance because I was 17. And then they said, well, if you want to come back here, you have to go to treatment. I said, I'm not getting high. Well, if you want to come back, I said, okay. So 15 days after I got out of Hazelden, I end up in New Hope. And it was like, because I was so used to bougie places with therapy dogs and stuff and a gym and all this stuff. And I went to New Hope and I was like, this is jail. This is jail. They're like, put all your stuff in a plastic bag. I was like, plastic bag? It's like, what do you mean? So before I went to New Hope, though, I got loaded because I knew I was going to have to go back to treatment. So I went there. No, I was an adolescent still. So I went there for 90 days from May until my 18th birthday, which is August 2nd. Now I'm 22. But I was there. And while I was there, I thought I was better than the other kids because I have experience in rehab. I'm an experienced rehab goer. I can recite the 12 steps off the wall without looking. I'm the best rehab person ever. So I thought I was better than the other kids. Well, I do heroin. What do? You smoke weed? You know what I mean? Like, that's how I felt. And a lot of the kids when I was in there went there for behavioral stuff. But now, majority of the kids I was in there with either died or they're in jail for a long time. So who am I? You know what I mean? To think I'm better than someone because I do heroin and they don't. So I got out of there. I went back to that sober living. I was there for about a month. It just wasn't working. And they did like a different type of recovery. They didn't let me do like AA. And I was like, this is weird. I don't like this. Like, I want to leave. So my grandma came and got me and said, pack your shit. Let's go. And I was like, all right. So I moved back in with her. And I had 4 months. And someone who I was in the sober living with had moved out as well. And I went on this whole rant. Now, mind you, I hadn't been to a meeting in 2 weeks. So I went on this whole rant. I can't smoke weed because then I'll drink and then I'll do other drugs and then I'll die. And he said, something, my roommate has been feeding my weed. And it took 2 seconds for him to say, I have weed, for me to go, so are we smoking? And he was like, I thought you just said. And I was like, Gabriel, please. It's fine. Nobody's going to know. And we went back to his apartment and with his roommate and we smoked. And it was the worst feeling I ever had in my life. Because at this point, I'm 18. I had 4 months, which was the longest I had had since I was 11 years old. And I'm like, this sucks. Like, this sucks. This is not fun anymore. I'm uncomfortable. Like, I'm paranoid. I don't like this. So after that, I went to 2 meetings the next day, and I've been sober ever since. But how do I maintain it? You know what I mean? It's not just like, la, 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 I got sober. I go to meetings quite frequently. I'm speaking at a meeting tomorrow. If someone asks me to speak or someone asks, oh, can I give this newcomer your number? Absolutely. I don't say no in my program. That boy who found me high, the one I dated, I ended up making amends to him. I was horrible to him. I was horrible. Put my hands on him, all different types of crazy stuff. So I made amends to him when I had 2 years. He accepted my amends. We're cordial. Now I'm with somebody else. But absolutely no disrespect to that kid. So that's good. The last person I spoke with, Gabriel, unfortunately, he passed away at 21. He overdosed.
Oh, man.
But if it wasn't for him and us doing that, I would not have been sober today. You know what I mean? It was like I got struck by lightning or something, whatever you want to call it, osmosis, you know? And now, I have a life I never thought I would have. I
Wow.
have a car. I'm sitting in it. Um, I have a
I
car.
love
I
it.
have a
I love it.
license. I go to college. I'm starting my next semester. I have a final Tuesday, but I go to college. I have a job. I've had several jobs that I've not been fired from. I've quit. So, that's a good thing. Like, I'm comfortable in my skin. The relationship I'm in now with my boyfriend is like the healthiest relationship I've ever been in.
Mm.
Um, he's not in the program, but he knows I'm in the program. He's gone to
Mhm.
meetings with me. If he's not an alcoholic, which is crazy. He's the first like non-drug dealer alcoholic normal person I've been with. Um, he's in the military. Like it's just my life is very very different.
Mm.
This is not how I would have expected my life to go. I thought I was going to be dead by the time I was 18. That was my plan for a very long time. Now I'm 22. I'm just overall like I have a good life. Like, is it perfect? No. Do I still throw temper tantrums? Yes. But I'm learning how to manage and deal with
Mhm.
things.
Mhm.
And like my sobriety, it is one day at a time. But I don't. I know that if I don't put this first, it's gonna everything else I've worked hard for is gonna like crumble. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like we have this saying on our fridge, and it says, "Don't let the life recovery gave you be the life that takes away your recovery."
Yep.
And
Yep.
like that's how it is for me. Is like I go to meetings. Like I said, I have a sponsor. My sponsor and me talk pretty frequently. She works a lot, so if we don't call, we text. I have a network. A lot of people in the rooms know me, and
Mhm.
I know a lot of people. And overall, like life is good. Like I have a better relationship with my mom. Me and my mom used to argue all the time. I took my mom to a pop punk show the other night at the venue I got kicked out of.
I like that. I like
At the
that.
venue I got kicked out of a couple of years ago.
All praises. Yeah.
So
I
I
like
took
that.
her with me. My mom crowd surfed and had a great time. We haven't been to a show together since 2012. So me and my grandma like we're able to communicate. If I'm frustrated, I can
Mm.
tell her. Just like if
Mm.
she's frustrated, she can tell me, and I'm not gonna freak out. And she dealt with a lot of my BS the last 2 years. My mom dealt with it my first few, but my last two were my roughest. With the police knocking on her door, telling her I'm in the hospital,
Mm.
or I'm a missing person in 3 different states because I snuck out and decided to go on a binge.
Mm.
You know, just living like a psychopath. So now, I live fairly comfortably. I have fun. A lot of people think sobriety is boring. I don't. I have a blast. I go to concerts frequently. Me and my boyfriend we go out dancing. Me and my friends we go out dancing. I've gone out to like clubs with sober people in AA, and we all stick together and have fun. Like a lot of people. Someone who I work with was like being sober is boring, and I was like, you are so incorrect, but okay, like you're just wrong. Um, but overall, like the life that I've been given, the gift I've been given of sobriety is like something I would never trade back. Like you offer me all the money in the world to do a drug, and I wouldn't do it today because
Mm.
I wouldn't
I
trade
love it.
this life I have. And like I have a higher power, and shout out to my higher power for giving me this gift because there
Mm.
are people dying left, right, and center, and we're
Mhm.
sitting on a podcast sharing hope. So,
Mhm.
I want to thank Mike for asking me to speak, and that's all I have.
Thanks for sharing, Bella. Um, I got a couple of questions. How do you manage people, places, and things?
So, I've this is a good question because recently I've outgrown some people in my
Mm.
life. I don't talk to anybody who I used to get loaded with. I just don't. Um, it's hard for me to go visit my mom sometimes because she still lives in Essex County,
Mhm.
and I get paranoid. I try not to go to like places I used to use.
Okay.
Like I try not to. Like I just don't. I'd rather not. You know what I mean? Like where I'm at now, I have no history here. I just have sober history here. Um, but I really like try not to go to like Newark. I go to Philly, but that's mostly if there's like a concert.
Oh man, she dropped off. Oh, she dropped off. I hope. Oh, here she go. Here she go. Yeah, here you go.
Whoops.
Hello. Yeah, it's
Hello.
cool. It's cool. It's cool. You
If
said you
it's
go to a
someone who I
concert
used
in
to,
Philly.
huh?
You said you went to a concert in Philly.
Yeah, Yeah, like if it's like a show, I'll go there. But I don't go anywhere that like that I have a history like by myself.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I make sure like people are aware. Like when I go out with my friends, like my boyfriend for example, he knows that I'm in recovery. He knows
Mhm.
if we go out to like a club, like don't let me walk up to the bar by myself, which he wouldn't. My friends know that too. Like Bella doesn't go up to the bar by herself to get water. We get it for her.
Mhm.
If I'm uncomfortable, I take my own car. So that way, if
Mm.
I want to go, I'm leaving.
Mhm. I
I'm not
like
waiting
that.
for Tom, Dick, and Harry, to finish their drink. I'm out. So I always
Mm.
have an exit plan too.
Mm. How hard was it to find a sponsor? Because I had worked at an adult facility before, and a lot of the girls said it was really hard for them because of their lack of trust in other women. So how hard was it for you to find a sponsor?
So for me, my first 2 years of sobriety, I went through 15, maybe 20 different sponsors
I can believe it. I can believe it.
because I'm so picky. Like I was like, I don't trust this person with my information. Like
Mhm.
if I
Mhm.
I watch feet. If you could blah 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 blah, I'm watching how you're moving. Like, are you
Mm.
coming to meetings consistently? Do
Mm.
you speak good game outside of these rooms? Do you help people outside of these rooms? Because like doing a 12 step doesn't just mean like speaking or something like that. Like it could be like not flipping someone off for me on the road. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like
Mhm.
it could be being of service in many other ways. So for me, I really have to like watch how people move. The sponsor I have now, I had a sponsor before her, and we just weren't like timing wasn't working, and it just wasn't working. Like there was always an issue. She had to work this day, and I had to work the same, so it wasn't working. And I heard my sponsor speak at a Nomads meeting, and she shared her story, and like something about her, I was just like, I love this woman.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
we ended up working in the same place. So it was just like, all right, it's meant to be. Like for me, I'm very picky. Like I have to like watch you, and people don't get mad if you fire them. I've had sponsors get mad in the past. Like when I was younger, I had a woman sponsor me, and she got like real nasty with me when I fired
Mhm.
her. And I was like,
Mhm.
see, this is why I fired you, lady. And she would like shun me at the meetings. It was weird, but like most 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna be mad. So I just, I learned that they don't take it personal. It's not personal. It's my 12-step business. That's what it is.
Okay. Okay. And the final question: what advice would you give the alcoholic or addict that still suffers, especially somebody that's young?
Um, if we're talking young, I get it. Like we're in a society. I don't know why we're in this society where we believe teenagers need to experiment with drugs and alcohol. You don't need to.
Mm. Mm.
Um, but like sobriety isn't boring, and if you give yourself a chance, I say it like this: like you have everything to gain trying to get sober, and you have nothing to lose. So if you don't like it,
Mm.
we'll give you your misery back. We'll refund it. No
Mhm.
problem. But, if you give it an honest chance when because like some people, for some people, rock bottom is death. Like, let's just be
Mm.
honest. Like, people are like, you can always go lower. And I'm like, yeah, you could friggin' die. Like, that's what
Mm.
it means. You know what I mean? So, like, rock bottom for some people is dying. I've
Mm.
lost a lot of friends over the past couple of years. And they kept getting lower and lower until they died.
Mm.
So, if you can't do it for yourself in the beginning, find something,
Mm.
find anything. And
Mhm.
then you'll realize you are doing it for yourself. But, if you're still suffering with drugs and alcohol, and if you're young or you're old, whatever, you're in the middle, just give yourself a fair chance. Give yourself 90 days
Mm.
and medically detox, because don't cold turkey it like I did. Um, give yourself 90 days. Do it thoroughly. Really, really try. And if you don't like it, don't come back unless you
Mm.
want to. Wow, that is
Mhm.
a horrible cough. But
Mhm.
if you can't tell me, oh, AA doesn't work for me. Oh, NA doesn't work for me if you've never really tried it.
Mm. Talk about it. I love
You
that.
can't.
Love.
Like you could say
Mhm.
like, no, that meeting didn't work for you. Try a different one.
Mm.
I stayed sober during COVID. where we had
Mhm.
no meetings and all we had was Zoom.
Mhm.
It was hard, but I
Mhm.
knew it was better than go getting high in Kensington or
Mhm.
Camden and
Mhm.
slumping out. Like, I'm good. So,
Mhm.
people, I've heard it, from young people too. Oh, this doesn't work for me. This isn't working for me. And I'm like, you don't know that. You just don't like that meeting you went to. Or
Mm.
you don't like this fellowship you can't identify, so try a different one. There's
Mm.
fellowships for everything.
Mhm.
CA, HA, NA,
Mhm.
CMA, there's AA. Like, there's fellowships for literally everything. So my advice is don't knock it until you thoroughly try it.
Mm. Thank you so much, Bella. I want to thank you so much for coming on, and I want to close with the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence for the still sick and suffering, addicts and alcoholics in and outside these walls, followed by the Serenity Prayer. God,
God.
grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Bella, thank you so much. Um, I'm gonna when this is over, I'll send you the whole live, and then you could take it and let your friends say it and distribute it around. So, and maybe we could just keep on this move to try to help the Most High save souls. So,
All right.
make sure you be safe for the rest of the night. Go get something for that cold. You know what I'm saying? And I see you at the clubhouse.
All right, Mike. Thank you so much.
All right, no doubt, Bella. Peace. Wow, what a good night, man. Our first female guest, Bella, really shared her experience, strength, and hope. I hope that her story could touch somebody out there. We'll be having clips of her real soon. And then stay tuned on Sunday. We should have some basketball stuff coming up with the start of the season going on. And this has been another Soberheads one day at a time podcast. And this is Mike. Enjoy the rest of your night. Shalom.